All right, this is it. This is it. This is the camera that I have been waiting to try for months. Let's talk about it. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well out there. And you heard correctly. We have in-house with us a camera that I have been waiting to try for months. Now, you already saw the thumbnail, you already saw the title, but humor me, because when this camera first came out, it was touted as this nice, compact camera that basically had a bunch of functionality in it for both photo and video. But it's also been pretty polarizing. You know, some people loved it, some people hated it, and really, I just wanted to try it out for myself. Let's go ahead and unbox this bad boy. That's right, y'all. We got the LUMIX S9 in-house. Now, by no means did I actually go out and purchase this thing. Truth be told, your boy can't afford to buy any new camera bodies at this time, but I did go out and rent it from my local camera store. Just because when this thing was announced, it had so many great features attached to it, being touted as a compact camera, and really, I just wanted to try this thing out for myself, test out all the cool features like real-time LUT, 6.2K open gate, and all the other things that the LUMIX S9 has to offer. Test it out for myself, and also pinning it against another compact camera in the Fuji XM5. Because one thing that these things both offer are 6.2K open gate, and I want to see, is there a difference between the open gate on the LUMIX S9 versus the Fuji XM5? Among other things that I'd like to test between these two cameras. First impressions, you know, the S9 actually feels a little bit heavier than I would have imagined. That may be because of the lens that I got with this rental. I am rocking the 20 to 60 millimeter lens. Overall, this seems a little bit heavier. Comparing it to the XM5 here, definitely heavier. It definitely feels more substantial. I'm not really gonna compare ergonomics just yet, just because I do have a case on the XM5. But first impression specifically on the S9, honestly, it doesn't feel too great right now. Just because of the weight. Also, the front of it is pretty flat. There's nothing to really grab onto on the front. On the back, there is a nice little thumb grip for me to rest my thumb, and that's what's kind of helping me to hold on to it. But we'll say right off the bat, the ergonomics don't feel great. I feel like I would need some type of grip or case to go along with it. Other things about this camera, I like the rangefinder style. There is no EVF, which is fine by me because I'm used to having that with the XM5 here. No EVF, and so that doesn't really bother me. The hot shoe on here is actually a cold shoe, so no electronic connections here. So if you wanted to put a flash on here, you wouldn't be able to do it. Not too big of a bother for me, but I will note that because I do have flashes that I might want to use if I do some night photography. Looking at the buttons and dials, everything looks pretty standard. Got the PASM dial, record button. I like the nice little red shimmer on the record button. We got our shutter button along with a dial wheel on off. We got our back buttons, our little D-pad, our wheel. We got a nice LUT button, which is cool. Kind of reminds me of like a film simulation dial where you can summon your creative looks at the press of a button or at the turn of a wheel with the XM5. Got the nice flippy screen, love that. And yeah, it all looks pretty standard for your typical rangefinder body style camera. I will say, I like this blue leather on the front of it. I didn't think I would. I thought I would be more partial to like a black leather or a red leather, but the blue's kind of grown on me. It has a little bit of a teal to it, you know? And it feels pretty nice. It kind of helps with the grip, having that leather texture up on the front, though I do still want a grip up front. The lens itself, as I mentioned, is the 20 to 60. It does have a variable aperture of 3.5 to 5.6, so that's gonna be something I'm gonna have to work with. I'm not gonna be able to get low apertures. I can work with this, especially doing street photography out on a bright sunny day. You're really not gonna need those low apertures, and so this should be fine. Also, I like the range of the 20 to 60. You know, I can get some wide shots and I can get some zoomed in shots at full frame, and that's gonna be pretty nice. But yeah, y'all, those are my first impressions of this LUMIX S9. I'm super excited to just go out and test a wide variety of things. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and dive into the menus, and we're gonna go take it out for a photo walk. Let's go. All right, y'all, so we got the LUMIX S9 here. I have downloaded the LUMIX Lab app. I have put in some real-time LUTs on this camera. I've learned the settings, and I think we're ready to go. So let's see what we can create here.
So far so good. I think we're getting some really good shots with this. Barrio Logan is super beautiful. Lots of good scenes to see, you know, lots of good murals and lots of good artwork. And I think the S9 is capturing it pretty nicely. You know, I am using the real-time LUT Ontario from LUMIX Lab. It's been super useful, and you know, I think we're getting some really good shots. Let's keep going.
All right, y'all, so we back, and that is the first shoot in the books with the LUMIX S9 for me. And I gotta tell you, I had a good time. There are things that I love about this camera, there are things that I don't quite like about this camera, and there's actually one major epiphany I kind of had about this camera as I was using it. But let's start with the good stuff. First and foremost, I gotta say, my favorite feature so far is the real-time LUT. Now, the LUMIX does come with some built-in LUTs. They had some sample LUTs in here, and those were all right. But in order to experience the full power of this camera, I had to download the LUMIX Lab app, and that app has a very wide selection of LUTs contributed by other creators, and they offer some really nice looks. I downloaded 4 of the LUTs, but I actually only ended up using one, and that was Ontario, which I think worked out really well for both shooting indoors and going out onto the bright sunny day of Barrio Logan. And I was getting some really nice images straight out of camera. The color reproduction was nice, the contrast was nice, and I was really enjoying just the images that I was getting out of the LUMIX S9. So much so, in fact, I really think there are very few of the images that I need to go back and edit as far as raw images go. The second thing I love about this camera is the screen. I was out shooting on a bright sunny day. This screen got plenty bright enough. The color reproduction was nice on it. And to me, the resolution looked great. I haven't really looked at how high the resolution on this screen is. All I know is the screen was looking pretty nice to me, and it should for a camera that doesn't have an EVF. Now, the last thing I love about this camera so far is the overall familiarity with using it. You know, I was able to dial in things like ISO, shutter speed, aperture. I was able to tap on a subject on the screen in order to lock in focus. It just all felt like using one of my other cameras. It was pretty nice. And so it really didn't take that much time to get up to speed with shooting photography on the LUMIX S9. Now let's get into some of the things I didn't like. Now these are small. This is just based off of first impressions, but the first thing I don't like about this camera is the shutter button. The shutter is way too sensitive. I'm used to using a camera where I half press on the shutter in order to lock in focus, and then a full press in order to actually take the shot. With this S9, the moment I give it any bit of press, it will instantly take the shot. And so I kind of had to change up the way that I shoot. I had to back button focus, and that was not how I'm used to using cameras. I know some of you may use your camera like that, but it just wasn't natural to me. So I had to get used to that. It didn't take long. Another thing I wasn't quite enjoying about this camera was the ergonomics. You know, I think if I purchased this camera, camera, I would definitely need a grip. It just wasn't comfortable to hold as is. So I would definitely recommend getting a grip if you're interested in this camera, because it's not that comfortable. And then the last thing that I didn't really like that much was just that switching from the LUTs to different color profiles or different color modes wasn't quite as intuitive as I would have liked it to be. I did notice that whenever I switched from photo to video, it did not switch over my color profile. I was using Time LUT for photos and I wanted to use Vlog for video. And whenever I switched over back and forth, it wouldn't just automatically remember that I had set Vlog for video and LUT for photo. I always had to go in and change the color profile setting. And to do that, it wasn't quite intuitive. I eventually found it and I got used to how that works, but it wasn't intuitive as with my other cameras. But again, this is my first time use. It's just probably something I need to get used to. But so far, those are pretty much the things that I like and don't like about this camera. Ultimately, it was fun to shoot with this. You know, it was a good experience. Quite honestly, I kind of had a revelation when using this LUMIX S9. The LUMIX S9 is much closer to my Sony cameras than my Fuji cameras. And it kind of makes sense because Sony and Panasonic, they're really both electronics companies. They're not really camera companies. Fuji is a camera company. They make film, they make cameras. Panasonic and Sony, they make all different kinds of electronics, and cameras just happen to be one of them, you know? I kind of got that feeling as I was using this camera. I felt like I was using an electronic, very much the same way as when I use my Sony cameras. It feels like an electronic, you know? Not the physical dials like Fuji cameras, not really going through the process of photography as much as with the Fuji camera, and so it just felt more like an electronic, that's all. It's not a big epiphany, but it's an epiphany nonetheless. But overall, it was still an enjoyable experience. Now, as far as video goes, I did shoot a little bit of video, but I'm not quite happy with it just because I didn't really get the settings right. My shutter speed kept being more variable, so for some reason I couldn't lock in that 180-degree shutter rule, so I got to sort that out. And ultimately, I want to test the video of this camera against the video of the Fuji XM5 because both cameras do have that 6.2K open gate feature. This is full frame and the XM5 is APS-C, so I kind of want to see what the image quality looks like for open gate with those two cameras and then do some other tests with it. And I might even test this against the A7C II since it reminds me so much of that camera. And so stay tuned, that's actually going to be in another video. But if you like this video, go ahead and drop it a like. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that notification bell to stay informed on when I do put that video out, this against the XM5. And until next time, y'all, I will catch y'all later.